Imagine a man, weathered by time, stepping into a small-town diner just as the sun dips below the horizon. His name is Samuel, though no one bothers to ask. His clothes are threadbare, his boots scuffed, and a faded canvas bag hangs loosely from his shoulder. He's a veteran, though you wouldn't know it from the way he carries himself. Quiet, unassuming, almost invisible. The diner is alive with the clatter of plates and the hum of conversation, but Samuel might as well be a ghost. No one notices him. No one cares. He shuffles to the counter, his eyes scanning for an empty stool, but the waitress barely glances his way. She's too busy serving the men in tailored suits, their cufflinks glinting under the fluorescent lights, their laughter loud and careless. These are the builders of the town's future. Contractors, investors, men who move mountains with a signature. And Samuel? To them, he's just a shadow in their world of steel and ambition. The diner sits on the edge of a sprawling job site, where cranes loom like silent giants, and the skeleton of a new skyscraper claws at the sky. This is a place of power, of progress, where men like those at the counter decide who rises and who falls. Samuel, with his weathered hands and quiet voice, doesn't belong here. At least, that's what they think. When he asks for a seat, one of the men, a broad-shouldered contractor named Harris, turns to him with a sneer. "You lost, old man?" he says, his voice carrying just enough to draw chuckles from the others. "This ain't a soup kitchen." The words sting, but Samuel doesn't flinch. He lowers his eyes, his fingers brushing the edge of a tarnished ring on his left hand. A detail so small, so fleeting you might miss it. But there's something in that gesture, something that makes the air feel heavier, like the first rumble of a distant storm. Across the counter, a girl sits alone, her frail frame hunched over a chipped mug of coffee. She's young, barely 20, with hollow cheeks and eyes that seem to carry the weight of 1,000 unspoken stories. Her clothes are mismatched, her hair tangled, and she clutches a tattered backpack like it's her only anchor. The men ignore her, just as they ignore Samuel. She's another nobody, another ghost. But Samuel sees her. He orders a sandwich, ham and cheese, nothing fancy, and when it arrives, he cuts it in half without a word. He slides one piece toward her, his voice soft but steady. "You look like you could use this." The girl hesitates, her eyes darting up to meet his, and for a moment, the diner feels quieter, as if the world is holding its breath. She takes the sandwich, her fingers trembling, and whispers a thank you so faint it's almost lost in the noise. Harris notices. Of course he does. "What's this, charity hour?" he barks, leaning back in his seat. "You think you're some kind of saint, old man? Feeding strays?" The other men laugh, their voices sharp and cruel, and the girl shrinks into herself, her face burning with shame. Samuel doesn't respond. He takes a bite of his sandwich, his movements slow, deliberate. But there's a flicker in his eyes, a glint of something hard, something unbroken. The waitress, caught in the middle, mutters for Samuel to leave, her tone more annoyed than apologetic. "You're causing a scene," she says, as if it's his fault. The men at the counter jeer, one of them tossing a crumpled napkin in his direction. It lands at his feet, and the diner erupts in laughter. Samuel stands, his movements stiff but steady, and slings his bag over his shoulder. The girl watches him, her eyes wide, as if she's trying to memorize his face. He doesn't look back. He steps out into the night, the diner's neon sign casting a faint red glow across his back. The job site looms ahead, its floodlights cutting through the darkness, and Samuel walks toward it, his boots crunching on the gravel. The men in the diner forget him the moment he's gone, their laughter fading into the clink of glasses and the hum of their own importance. But out there, in the quiet of the night, something shifts. Footprints, fresh and deliberate, lead from the job site's gate into the woods beyond, a path no one was meant to see. And in the stillness, the air feels charged, as if the world knows what's coming, even if the men in the diner don't. The next morning, The job site is buzzing with activity. Workers haul steel beams, foremen shout orders, and the air hums with the grind of machinery. Harris is there, strutting through the site like a king, his voice booming as he berates a young laborer for a minor mistake. "You want to keep your job, you'd better learn how to listen," he snaps, his face flushed with authority. The other workers keep their heads down, their faces tight with resentment, but no one dares speak. Harris is untouchable, or so he believes. He's the man who signs their checks, the man who decides who stays and who goes. And he's not alone. His crew, men like him, drunk on their own power, follow his lead, their laughter sharp and mocking as they trade stories of last night's diner scene. "That old fool," one of them says, shaking his head, "thought he was somebody, sharing his sandwich like he's feeding the queen." But the mood shifts when Samuel appears at the edge of the site. He's there, uninvited, standing by the chain-link fence with his bag slung over his shoulder. The workers notice him first, their eyes darting to the man who seems so out of place. Harris spots him next, and his face twists into a scowl. "What's he doing here?" he mutters, striding towards Samuel with purpose. The other foremen follow, sensing a spectacle. "Hey, old man," Harris calls, his voice dripping with contempt. "This is private property. You got no business here." The words draw a crowd. Workers, supervisors, even a few delivery drivers pause to watch. Samuel doesn't move. He stands there, his hands in his pockets, his eyes fixed on Harris with a calm that feels almost unnatural. "You deaf?" Harris snaps, stepping closer. "I said get out." He shoves Samuel's shoulder, not hard enough to knock him down, but enough to make a point. The crowd murmurs, some laughing, others shifting uncomfortably. A few pull out their phones, recording the scene, their faces lit with cruel amusement. The frail girl from the diner is there too, lingering at the back of the crowd, her backpack clutched tightly to her chest. She watches Samuel, her expression unreadable, but her eyes never leave him on his face. Samuel doesn't react to the shove. He doesn't speak. He doesn't flinch. But his eyes, those eyes, grow colder, sharper, like a blade catching the light. And for the first time, Harris hesitates, his smirk faltering, as if he's just felt the ground shift beneath him. The tension breaks when one of Harris's crew steps forward, a burly man named Carl, who grabs Samuel's bag and tosses it into the dirt. "Take your trash and go," Carl says, spitting at Samuel's feet. The crowd laughs, the sound harsh and hollow, and Harris regains his swagger. "You're nothing," he says, jabbing a finger at Samuel's chest. "You hear me? Nothing." The words hang in the air, heavy and final, and for a moment it seems like Samuel might break. But he doesn't. He bends down, slow and deliberate, and picks up his bag. He dusts it off, his movements almost ceremonial, and when he straightens, there's a faint smile on his lips, a smile that sends a chill through the crowd. It's not fear, it's not defeat. It's something else, something that makes the laughter die in their throats. Samuel turns to leave, his boots crunching on the gravel, and the crowd parts for him, though they don't know why. The girl watches him go, her fingers tightening on her backpack, and as he passes, their eyes meet for a fleeting moment. It's a look that carries weight, a silent understanding, as if they share a secret no one else can see. The job site falls silent, the hum of machinery the only sound, and Harris shouts after him, "Don't come back, you hear me?" But his voice cracks, just enough to betray his unease. The crowd disperses, the moment fading into the rhythm of the day, but the air feels different now, heavier, like the calm before a storm. And that night, under the cover of darkness, those footprints appear again, leading from the job site to the woods, a trail no one dares to follow. The next day, the job site is different. The workers move slower, their eyes darting to the shadows, as if expecting something, or someone, to emerge. Harris is there, but his usual bravado is tempered, his laughter forced. He's shaken, though he'd never admit it. The memory of Samuel's smile lingers, a splinter in his mind, and he snaps at his crew more than usual, his temper fraying at the edges. The frail girl is there too, sitting on a crate near the fence, her backpack at her feet. She's quieter today, her eyes scanning the horizon as if waiting for something inevitable. The workers avoid her, their unease growing, but no one can say why. It's just a feeling, a prickle at the back of the neck, like the air before a lightning strike. Then it happens. A black SUV rolls up to the job site, its tinted windows gleaming in the morning sun. The door opens, and a man in a crisp suit steps out, his posture rigid, his face unreadable. He carries a briefcase, and his eyes scan the site with a precision that makes the workers freeze. Harris notices him and strides over, his chest puffed out, ready to assert his authority. "Can I help you?" he asks, his tone more challenge than question. The man in the suit doesn't answer. He looks past Harris, his gaze locking on to Samuel, who's appeared at the edge of the site, his bag slung over his shoulder as always. The man in the suit nods, a gesture so subtle it's almost invisible, and Samuel nods back. The workers murmur, their voices low, and Harris's face tightens. "What's this about?" he demands, stepping between the man and Samuel. The man in the suit finally speaks, his voice smooth but cold. "Mr. Harris, I suggest you step aside. This doesn't concern you." The words hit like a slap, and Harris's face reddens, his fists clenching. "Doesn't concern me? This is my site," he shouts, but the man in the suit doesn't flinch. He opens his briefcase and pulls out a single sheet of paper, handing it to Harris with a look that could freeze fire. Harris snatches it, his eyes scanning the text, and the color drains from his face. This can't be right," he stammers, his voice breaking. "He's nobody. He's nothing." Samuel steps forward, his presence commanding the silence that falls over the site. He doesn't raise his voice, doesn't need to. "You're wrong," he says, his words soft but heavy, like stones dropping into still water. "This site, this project, it's mine." The crowd gasps, the workers exchanging glances, and Harris's crew shifts uncomfortably, their confidence crumbling. The man in the suit speaks again, his tone clipped. "Mr. Samuel Carter, founder and chairman of Carter Enterprises, has been overseeing this project personally. Your contract, Mr. Harris, is terminated, effective immediately." The paper in Harris's hand trembles, a termination notice, signed by Samuel himself. The girl stands now, her eyes bright with something like pride, and the workers notice her for the first time. She's not just a stray, not just a ghost. She's someone who matters, someone tied to Samuel in ways they can't yet understand. Harris stumbles back, his crew abandoning him, their loyalty evaporating in the face of this new reality. "You can't do this," Harris sputters, but Samuel's smile returns, colder now, sharper. "I already have," he says, and turns to the man in the suit. "Escort them off my property." The man nods, and security steps forward, their faces hard, as Harris and his crew are led away, their protests fading into the dust. The workers are silent, their eyes fixed on Samuel, who stands at the center of the site like a king reclaiming his throne. The girl approaches him, her steps tentative, and he places a hand on her shoulder, a gesture so gentle it silences the last whispers of doubt. "You did well, Ellie," he says, and she smiles, her face transforming with a strength no one saw before. The man in the suit hands Samuel a tablet, and he reviews it with a nod, his authority absolute. The workers begin to move again, their purpose renewed, but they steal glances at Samuel, their respect unmistakable. He's no longer the ghost in the diner, no longer the man they ignored. He's the one who built this empire, the one who shared a sandwich with a fragile girl, the one who walked away from their cruelty with a smile. Days later, the job site is transformed. The cranes move with purpose, the workers united under Samuel's quiet leadership. Harris and his crew are gone, their names erased from the project, their arrogance a fading memory. The story spreads, on social media, in the diner, across the town, of the man who turned the tables, who proved that power doesn't need to shout. Ellie is there too, no longer fragile, her role as Samuel's protege clear to all. She carries herself differently now, her eyes sharp, her voice steady, and the workers listen when she speaks. The footprints in the woods are gone, washed away by rain, but their mystery lingers, a reminder of the night Samuel chose to act, to reclaim what was his. Samuel doesn't speak of that night, doesn't boast of his victory. He moves through the site with the same quiet grace, his bag slung over his shoulder, his ring catching the light. But the workers know now, and they nod as he passes, their respect unspoken but absolute. He didn't need to fight back, didn't need to raise his voice. His success, his silence, was the loudest response of all. And as the skyscraper rises, its steel gleaming against the sky, Samuel stands at its base, Ellie at his side, and looks out over the town. He's home, not just in this place, but in the truth of who he is. Thank you for joining us for this story, for walking with Samuel through the shadows and into the light. If you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever felt invisible, remember this. True strength doesn't need to shout. It shines in the quiet moments, in the choices you make when no one's watching. Subscribe to hear more stories like this, where the underdog rises, where justice finds a way. Until next time, keep believing in the power of your own silence.